And here we are.
Hey, peace, Sister Ellen. Hey.
Peace, BruthaMikeX.
Yeah, we here. It's December 31st,
Yes.
2020.
Yes.
We got about 9 hours and some minutes before the so-called New Year. And we say bye to 2020,
Yes.
This is Necessary Conversations with my great and dear friend, Sister Ella. My name is BruthaMikeX. This is our third episode of Necessary Conversations, and we couldn't let this heck of a year leave without us, addressing, where we're at, how we're feeling, and also, a level of joy and accomplishment, for being able to make it,
Yes.
to this so-called New Year, because there's been a lot of things going on. There's been a lot of death, So yeah, so we're gonna wrap up, our thoughts and our feelings on 2020, and we're also going to talk about, how we're feeling and what we're planning to do to move into 2021 in a more positively purposeful and intentional way, so that we're, not holding on to the old, embracing the new, and making it happen, So how you
You just broke up a little bit. Did you ask me how I'm feeling?
Yeah, I said, how you feeling today? Wow.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. I'm feeling great, and I'm glad, because I have my days, but I'm in great, spirits, and my energy is great, and I'm excited. Like, I'm glad to be here. When you said this is our third episode, I was like, Dad, we only did 2. But, being able to come back together when we get together is always a great feeling. And I'm glad to be able to talk to you and, just share the type of conversations that we have with the people. Because I think that, it's just positive, and it's just the energy that the world needs, love, sweet love. And I think it's a love when we get together, BruthaMikeX. So I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
Okay. All right. You just froze just a little bit, and maybe I froze, and so you didn't notice. So we just gonna continue to roll. It's gonna be interesting to see, how it came out. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot going on in the world. So what do we expect?
Yeah.
All this energy everywhere. So.
Yeah. Dealing with death. There's been a lot of death throughout the year, and even coming up to where we're at right now. Death of, and I struggle with death, as I was telling you. I struggle with death. I struggle with death of people that I know. I struggle with death of people that I admire from afar, like a lot of us, like, oh my God, such and such died, actors and entertainers, people that you remember from when you was young, or your favorite movie, or your favorite song, like we had Chadwick Boseman, and we had Ecstasy from Houdini not too long ago, and even this dope soul, may she rest in peace forever. A sister that I know named Charmise Smith. Like, just such a beautiful, God-fearing individual, that you just out of the blue, like, oh my God, like, that just it just gives you pause, like damn, she's dead, like, her, for real? Like, not to say that, I think all of us have our shadows, and our parts of our lives that we don't necessarily want to put on the front page, you know, of the daily news. But, you know, looking from, you know, from the outside, I'm like, yo, this sister was just so powerful and dynamic and such a good-natured person. And you just start, you know, and even, you know, the death of, you know, like I was saying to you, a friendship, you know, cherished friendship, or, you know, a particular routine that you had with people that you saw them on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden,
like the
y'all
job.
not together no more, like a job, you know,
Yeah.
or y'all in the same neighborhood, and now y'all not, you know, so you don't see them no more. So, it's just deep, you know.
Yeah.
It's just deep, you know. And you know, I even had a situation where, you know, my mom, you know, she's getting up there in age, and you know, dealing with the inevitability of having to say goodbye, you know, to loved ones, you know, your parents that are getting older, or grandparents, you know. So it's hard to deal with, but I feel like, you know, we shouldn't shy away from it. You know, we need to figure out, you know, how to deal with it and embrace, you know, the inevitability of, you know, dealing with
what's to come. Yeah.
it.
Definitely, you know, this has been a year, and if you know, if it's not what is happening, it really feels like it, you know. As far as like so many, you know, people transition, people pass every year, you know, every year, loved ones, you know, some people lose family members, friends, celebrities pass, but this year definitely, you know, it's definitely heavy, and it seems like, you know, a mass of loss. And you know, and like you said, it's lost in so many ways, you know, so many, not only the loss of, you know, our loved ones and passing, but like you said, you know, friendships ending, jobs changing, people moving, that this has been a year which seems like something is, you know, coming to an end. And you know, and spiritually, you know, I know, and even if you're not, you know, spiritually inclined or in tune, you can see that something greater, you know, than us is happening here. So, you know, I'm happy about, you know, the people who, you know, who are still here and who are still, you know, pushing through and laughing and, you know, sharing and smiling and being silly and you know, and all of that. Like, I'm just happy that people are still allowing themselves to appreciate life. And you know, this morning, I emailed my coworkers, and I realized, like how you said, like, you know, you're not hearing from people, like how you know, your friendships and people you were close with, and you don't see them anymore. I realized like half of my office that I was emailing to tell them, you know, have a happy New Year's Eve and day, that I haven't spoken to them in months. You know, I'm only kind of interacting with like half of the office because of the just the way that we're set up. So when I'm sending an email out, I'm like, wow, this is like, I haven't spoken to these people and I'm saying Happy New Year like all this time. And I'm a supervisor, so it's like, oh, she finally saying something, you know, that was the thoughts that was going through my head. Like, people were like, oh, now she chooses to say something, you know, but I said, I'm sending this email, and I said, you know, one thing I have noticed about myself this year is I don't do, what I said was, I don't do well with long distance relationships. And long distance, not because you live down south or, you know, anything like that, but because you're not like an immediate, it's like you're not like an immediate need, you know, like you're not, if you're not like a very, I don't know how to say it because I don't want to make it sound like people aren't as important to me as they are, but I just don't keep good contact with people. You know, and I noticed that this year. I was like, I'm not a good contact keeper, you know. So while I'm sending this email out, I'm like, wow, it's so many people that I know I talk to that, you know, I haven't been keeping in touch with. And I'm only taking that on my end as my responsibility and not saying anything about what they haven't, you know, done. But the changes that has been happening is kind of just showing me for myself how I connect and how I, you know, attach and detach and things like that to people that I do care about, you know, and that I, you know, do have in my heart, you know, and that I do want the best, you know, for them. Just keeping that connection, you know, is something that I see that I have, you know, I don't do very well. And then when it comes to loved ones, you know, the way that I take death, I remember when my grandmother passed away, I had like an automatic, she's no longer in that body. And I hadn't ever learned anything about that. You know, I mean, I went to church and I went to the Kingdom Hall when I was even younger, as far as like being a Jehovah's Witness and stuff. But I never had, when your body is going, your spirit moves on. But I just felt it, I had a knowing of that, and I didn't linger. I didn't mourn long over the passing of my grandmother, and I thought that I thought it was something wrong with that a little bit. I felt because everybody else was crying in a way that I wasn't. And they even asked me to deal with certain things because they couldn't deal with it. You know, so then my grandfather passed away, and I just realized the way that I deal with passing. And I just what I believe is that spirit lives on. You know, so it's something in me that gives me a calm when people pass. And in this year, I just feel like it's been so much that I see people as if they're just saying, I have a bigger, you know, I have something greater that I need to do for you, and I can only do it in spirit. You know, and that's just how I feel. Like it's like an inner knowing, or it's just a way that I can look at it to make it make sense for me, how people are leaving, you know, this world. And it brings an ease to me to know that spirit lives on, you know, and I have guidance and, you know, they're angels, and, you know, just that helps me. So that's how I see, you know, the passing this year. That's how I look at it.
Wow. You know, dealing with, you know, we've been struggling, you know, all year. And when I say we like meaning everyone. And then, you know, between our, you know, friendship, you know, just calling each other and talking about, you know, talking for hours, you know, or even
hours,
or even, you know, when we're doing our necessary conversations, you know, and we have been striving to be confident. We've been striving to be, you know, positive and purposeful, you know, and it's really been a challenge, you know, to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's really been a challenge, you know, to not give over to fear and anxiety and worry, you know, and there's a lot of that, you know, going around. And I just wonder how, you know, how they say, you know, people, you know, your words have power, you know, and you can speak things into existence. You know, you prophesize over your own life, you know, and your take was very interesting. What you said about people, just saying, yo, let me move on so that I can, be free to do what I need to do and help the way I need to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, However, I also wonder, if the level of fear and anxiety, that is so pervasive, if maybe it's exacerbating, the rise in people, just moving on or dying, living in
Mm.
fear is a hell of a burden, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, I had went through a spell of, this is where people are gonna be like, yo, I knew Brother Mike X was crazy. Because
You're about to reveal it.
this is something that I haven't really revealed to a lot of people, but I went through this about maybe 5 years ago. I went through a spell of, anxiety, interludes, and it would happen in the middle of the night. I would wake up and I would, feel like, I would have like this extreme claustrophobia, like I'm being trapped, and I'm like everything is closing in on me, and
Mm-hmm.
and I was dealing with this, and I didn't know what to do, and I was trying to do all types of things. I would get up and go outside, to try to get out into the open air, and I would still feel,
Mm.
like the world was closing in, and like this impending dread and doom, and
Mm-hmm.
it got to the point I would go sit in my car, like nothing I was doing was working, until I had the bright idea one night to open up a digital recorder, that I have. I keep digital recorders to record my work and record my thoughts and all of that. So I just, as a last resort, desperate resort, I turned on, my digital recorder, and then I heard my own voice reading through, certain self-help books and philosophies, and
Mm.
what it did is it served to bring me back into my normal flow of striving to be a positive, purposeful, individual, who strives to stay motivated, and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of snapped me out of that anxiety and that doom that I was, sinking in,
Whatever. Yeah.
So I referenced that to reference, like, I wonder if a lot of people have found themselves in that dark place that I found myself in at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe not knowing or having an outlet, to be able to talk to someone outside of themselves, or to take advantage of some inner work that they have done in the past that they can
Mm-hmm.
reconnect with, to, as a bucket of cold water to splash, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to get them back to where they normally are, So I just wonder, if a lot of the death that we're seeing is not necessarily corona
Mm-hmm.
related,
Mm-hmm.
but the fear and the anxiety, that is out there, with people who are worrying about this so-called virus, and worrying about a vaccination, and worrying about, not having maybe access, they've been cut off from a paycheck, they don't have no money coming in, or they're worrying
Mm-hmm.
about a mortgage, or, just worry, 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 worry.
Yeah.
That could be very heavy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
on someone's
Unhealthy.
psyche, on their emotions, on their psyche, and even their physical,
Mm-hmm.
body, So I don't necessarily have an answer to that, but I brought up what I had went through at the time. What I eventually surmised from what I went through is that at the time I had stopped striving to some degree, and I didn't even know that I had stopped pressing, purposeful, and intentionally to be who I normally am as Brother Mike X, this
Mm-hmm.
positive dude who strives to be so up and, you know, and Adam, I had, you know, I had slowed down at the time and I wasn't really being who I normally am. So I felt like because I wasn't pressing forward, the pressures, the normal pressures that I, you know, that everybody deals with had started to get the best of me, you know, without me even knowing. And I had started to slip into that worry and that, oh, I don't, you know, what's going to happen, you know, without me even knowing, you know. And it was when I reconnected with the inner work that I normally do, that's when I snapped back, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when you get to, for the most part, when you get into a place where you're like deep in it, you can't get in deep, you know, unless you like dug yourself into that, you know. But when you say the part where you didn't realize how far you've gotten, you know, we build up momentum without noticing it. You know, like if you're thinking a certain way and you're not addressing those thoughts, you know, it becomes a habitual thought. And next thing you know, you're deep and you like, wow, like this is now it's hard to get out of it, you know, so because we didn't notice the momentum of it that we were building. And I think that when we are working on ourselves, that the more we do it, the more we kind of keep ourselves from going, you know, that deep into the hole, because we still, you know, we're living in this world, right? And like no matter how much work you've done thus far, we still feel the effects of what has been going on. You know, no matter how much I think I've gotten good, you know, or wherever I am in dealing with people passing away, or even my own, you know, mortality, thinking about that, and how much I don't think about it. But when I hear certain things about a vaccine or a world order, you know, and a shortage of food and things like that, I start to feel a certain way. I start to get worried. I forget all of the positive, you know, thoughts and me creating my life, and how your thoughts become, you know, your reality, and, you know, all of that. I forget about that once I expose myself to those opposing thoughts, you know, or the thought, or just the information about what may or may not be happening in this world, you know, the powers that be that's controlling things, you know. So when I hear that information and I put myself in a place and I allow myself to you know, tune into that, you know, whether it's through social media. Usually it's through social media because I don't watch TV, you know. And maybe it could be through someone who, you know, I'm talking to, and they're like, oh, did you hear about, you know, they're going to be knocking on your door with, you know, the COVID or whatever. And then you hear about it, and then you like, and then you forget, you know, you forget your power. You forget that, you know, no matter what, there's a higher power working. It's always working. It's never leaving you. We're not left alone. No matter what is happening, we're not alone. We're not here only dealing with it with our hands. It's you know, I always talk about that. It's always that higher power that's here for us, you know. And we think because we see people, you know, passing away, that it's not there, but it still is. That's the part of the cycle, you know. It's a part of life. And I think once we get to understand that, we can deal with certain situations, you know, in a you know, in a more healthy way. I think, Brother Mike, you read a lot of books, right? And I'm still working on my ability to name drop, right? But I just want to say that it's so much information out here. If you want to learn about like life, you know, the universal laws, you know, Egyptian you know, history and the beliefs that the Egyptians had, aka Kemet, you know, in ancient Kemet, and how they knew what they knew about death, you know, quote unquote death. It's just so many things that we can learn to kind of look into how we feel about that. You know, because a lot of the things that the worry that we suffer from goes towards how we feel about our mortality. You know, like, you know, if I don't have this, if I'm not able to take care of myself, if I don't have money, if this person is not in my life anymore, how am I gonna live? How am I gonna live? You know, a lot of our worries come, the basis of our worry is our mortality. You know, so I think that us, you know, a way, like how you had your tape recorder to go to and to listen to things that you have, you know, put together in the past as you were, you know, building on yourself and doing your inner work, and you had to remember that. I think that if we don't have access to those, you know, those pre-recordings or the writings, you know, if we haven't gone into that, then I mean, you know, Google is a tool. You know, just look into some spiritual books dealing with, you know, just dealing with death. You know, you can look into reading up on, I know what helped me too, and it might be foreign for other people, or just, you know, I don't know. I don't want to excuse what I do, but I went into, it was this lady I used to listen to. It was called We Don't Die Radio. And it was a YouTube channel. And she would have people on telling their stories about their near-death experiences. That they, like, something happened to them and they were in a hospital, and then they came outside of their body and they saw their bodies, you know, there getting worked on. And they could come, when they came back, they could tell you, well, you know, dad was dad went to the bathroom and mom was at the vending machine getting the Snickers, you know, and then the doctor, whatever, like they're traveling, their spirit is traveling around, seeing what's going on. And then when they come back, they're telling, like, this is what happened while I was, you know, dead in, you know, in this on this operating table. You know, or they got hit by a car and their spirit left their body and they're floating, looking at what's happening, their body, you know, when they realize, oh, that's my body. Wow. You know, and so I listened to a lot of those stories, and it really eased my belief. It just gave me another perspective, as it's not only about this physical body, you know, and if I think about people that I love and care about and they pass, I could look at that and be like, they're still around. You know, I could still say, hey, grandma, I love you, you know, or just say something, and it can resonate, because we're energy, you know, and they can hear that. And that's how I look at things, and that brings ease to me. I know that it might not be easy for other people, especially with whatever belief system they hold, you know, but that's what eased me, like me just hearing stories, and they were true stories that people told about. They have a whole association called near death. It's called ND. Is it NDE? NDE. Well, they have a whole association that deals with near-death experiences. Scientists, doctors, all type of people are part of this association, and like informing people, informing the world that we are more than we think we are.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, you know, since those experiences that I had that I mentioned, and it went on for like, I think it went on for like 2 weeks, like, you know, and it was crazy because it would happen at times where it's like in the middle of the night and there's nobody to call, like, you know, or, you know, anybody, you know, and to be honest with you, and this is where like me and you are able to connect, you know, so deeply and so intimately and organically, you know, and just talk for hours, you know, and we exploring, we down deep in the ocean, or we might be up in the universe.
Traveling, yep.
Just traveling and just, you know, because, and we're able to connect on those levels because you are, you know, someone who is open-minded, a seeker, you know, doing your own inner work, you know, trying to live life fearlessly with an open mind, and, you know, and so you bring that to the conversation, you know, and, you know, myself, I look at myself the same way, you know, I'm someone who's, you know, a seeker, you know, seeking truth, striving the process, doing that inner work.
Yes.
You know, almost interested in any topic. It's not just Black history or whatever. Like, I'm almost interested in any topic that you can mention. So when we bring both of that together, we're able to talk for like hours, and it's not shallow, it's not like trivial, it's like just deep, fortifying and enriching. And I don't have a whole lot of people like that I could connect with, you know.
Right, yeah.
So, and I don't even think, I didn't even have you at that point.
When you was having the night sweats?
Yeah, we didn't even know each other yet. So, so this happened for like a good 2 weeks. And it was like, I didn't have nobody I could talk to. And even like family, I was just thinking, like, even if I was to reach out to family or certain people, they still wouldn't be able to help me right now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, I gotta deal with this, you know? And so when I finally, you know, had that epiphany to reconnect to the fact that I've been, you know, I've done the inner work, and I've in that practice of being positive and moving forward, and broke that spell, you know? So I just wanted to say, has it happened? It's tried to happen. Like, there's been moments like now, because I experienced that, there's been times in, you know, going forward that I would feel that energy try to come into,
trying to resurface,
to reassert itself, and I'll be like, no, hell no, and I'll jump up out the bed, and I know how to handle it now.
Yeah.
You know, I know what it means. What it means is that I probably have started to slow down in my progress, you know, and I'm not moving forward. You know, I've started to become stagnant in a way, and because I've started to become stagnant, the possibilities and the potentialities of being able to level up or move, you know, continue to grow and transform, it's not happening right now. So I take that as a signal. Like, I feel that energy. Like, I'll jump up out of bed. I'm like, yo, I'll do anything. I'll get down. It'd be in the middle of the night. A lot of times I'll get up in the middle of the night. And instead of me trying to, you know, if I can't go back to sleep, I'm mindlessly watching TV or I'm looking at the wall or whatever. I'm like, yo, I must be up for a reason. You know? I'm accustomed a lot of times to getting up.
That's what I was telling you earlier too, that I'm waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So I'll pull a book out. I'll pull my book out that I'm striving to finish, do some writing. I'll listen to, you know, some of my greatest, you know, people that I learned from, like Dr. Miles Monroe, or you know, different teachers, you know, that they have on YouTube and stuff like that, to pull me back into, or to help me reassert, you know, or pull myself back into, you know, moving on and being purposeful, you know. So, like you said, there are a whole lot of different pathways that people can take advantage of to practice, you know, peace, serenity, you know, and to not have to fall and be a victim of that anxiety, you know, of fear, you know, that dread of being like, yo, I don't know what's gonna happen, and not knowing how to process that. But no one can do that work for you.
Yep.
You know, it's something that you have to be able to start practicing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's unfortunate because I know people personally, family, friends, associates, co-workers, that they don't want to do the work. You know, they, you know, they're allowing themselves to be subject to, yo, did you hear what the news said? And yo, they're telling us that, you know, we need to have a mask and a face shield and, you know, this the face shield, like, or, and I'm like, yo, man, you know, I'm not in the business of, you know, trying to make fun of, or, you know, or not even to, you know, respect people, you know, for what they want to believe in or what they don't want to believe in. But I just feel the responsibility to, you know, strive to, you know, not get caught up, you know, and not give way to that fear in myself. You know, I feel like I've been, you know, I've been on social media, I've been out, you know, in the public to a degree, not saying, you know, but I feel like I'm not only trying to win for me, but I'm trying to win for my son. I'm trying to win for other people who don't want to be subject, you know, to getting caught up in the wave of fear and anxiety, you know, that will, you know, take them out of, you know, take them out of life before their time, or, you know, or keep them in a position where they're just here suffering, you know, too afraid to move, or too afraid to speak, you know. Like, I feel like, you know, it's part of my responsibility to continue to expand my own life, not just for myself, but just for the possibility of living life better, you know. And you said something, and I'm gonna say this, and I want to, you know, pass it back to you. Like, we are soul slash spirit, and within a flesh body, you know. The body is not the real you know. The body is the receptacle or the vehicle for the real you, you know. This is why when people die, people don't say, like, you know, oh, Johnny is right here, you know. When they come to get it, they don't say Johnny is here, they say the body is here. You know, they know that, you know, what made you, like you said earlier, you know, what made you you is gone. You know, or at least it's not there. It's not in that body anymore. So we have to figure out, how do we make peace between the spirit and the soul and the body, you know? I think that we need to, you know, part of how to get through this corona and all of this fear, like, I think, you know, how do we get into healthy practices, you know, of maintaining our lives, so we won't be so subject to, you know, the fear and the mortality that we see, you know? Because I think that a lot of the people who are passing on, and everything they're saying, everything is corona, everything is COVID, everything is COVID. But there are others who were saying that they talk about comorbidities and things like that, like things that we have allowed to take hold in our lives that, you know, make us more susceptible, you know, to dying before our time, like eating wrong, you know, thinking wrong, you know, even, you know, what we talk about. Are you talking from an inspired place, you know, of confidence and faith?
Yeah, what you're watching on TV and what you're exposing yourself to, that's all consumption.
Yeah. And it plays a role. It plays a role in if you're going to be suffering through life, or are you going to be one who's more healthy in your physical, mental, emotional, you know, disposition? you know. And I'm not saying like, yo, like I'm a picture of health right now. You know what I mean? Like I've had some health struggles this year myself, you know, things that are lingering from, you know, times in my life where I wasn't as focused on trying to do right or do better as I am now. But as we move into like 2021, you know, these are some of the things that I'm thinking about, you know? Yeah. These are some of the things that I'm thinking about more so, you know? There's certain things that I know I can't eat no more, you know? And I'm not talking about, you know, first of all, no, Brother Mike don't eat swine, y'all. I'm not talking about pork, you know? I stopped eating pork almost 30 years. You know, I haven't eaten no pork in about 30 years. You know, I haven't eaten beef. I haven't eaten any beef in about 12 years, going on 13. But I'm talking about, you know, as I'm getting older, I know that my body doesn't process starch. You know, the bread and the rice. You know, and those things that I love. I love bread and I love rice. You know, but I know that when I eat bread and I eat rice, like my body feels different. You know, my diet.
You have a reaction.
Yeah. You know, like I feel like heartburn. I feel these things. So we got to be in tune with stuff like that.
Yes.
You know, what's more important? Is it more important to eat this, to continue to eat the way you ate just because, you know, you've been eating this way
Just
your whole
because you've been
life?
doing it.
Yeah, or do you want to continue to add value to your life and stop doing things that may shorten your life? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. I think that in order for a significant change to take place, that it has to be a significant change done. You know, like you have to do something that you have never done, you know, which could mean stopping, you know, that you stop doing something that you always do, you know, because sometimes, you know, doing something means quitting, you know, or, you know, I'm not going to eat like that anymore, or I'm not going to wake up, you know, I'm not going to wake up late in the day every day. You know, I'm going to wake up earlier in the morning, which that's what I'm struggling with, waking up earlier. I'm just going to break these patterns, you know, and when you begin to break the patterns that you didn't even know you had, your life changes. It changes. And you know, it could be a small change which moves into a significant change and a huge, you know, a transformation. You know, it was a time where, you know, I did the vegan thing, and I didn't call myself a vegan, but I lived like a vegan. I was eating, you know, like a raw vegan, you know, eating raw fruits and vegetables, and you know, and I had learned a lot about food. And, you know, I think like at that point, you know, I was in a certain place in my life where I needed to experience that. I needed that information. I needed to get a little lighter, meaning in my weight, for me to be, you know, for me to enhance my spiritual connection, you know, for me to raise my vibration. I had to get a little lighter. So I had to do something different. But I'll tell you this, I didn't know that that's what I was doing when I was doing it. I didn't know I was opening a portal. You know, I didn't know I was inviting or tuning myself into spirit by eating differently. I didn't know that I was doing that, but now I know that that's what I was doing. And you know, prior to that, I was just, you know, I always tell the story. I was learning a lot about, you know, history that I didn't know of, me being, you know, Black / African American / indigenous, you know, wherever it is that I'm, you know, my ancestry. And it just was like opening my mind to say, I want to know more than what I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, in this being a time where information is there, it's there, and again, spirit, it like I just can't help but moving into spirit. Because when you ask right now, when you want something, you want an answer, you have like the same way that we can go on the internet and we can think about something and go online and be like, whatever. That's life right now. The world, the air is the internet. Spirit is online. And when you connect to that line and you ask a question, you type in that question, you get not just one response, you get a whole heap of responses. Because spirit is ready to give you the knowledge that you are yearning for. It's ready to give you the answers that you are asking for. It's ready to let you know that what you have been feeling all this time about yourself, being in a, like, I feel like I don't belong here. I feel different. I feel like, you know, I know when I was a little girl, I felt like I did not belong here. I said that to myself. I felt like I was in a far, like I didn't belong here. Where I lived, my block, I just felt like I wasn't connected. And all that was me knowing that it was something greater about me that I couldn't see. That was on, you know, something that I was, yet I did not know that I was. Now I know that. But then I just felt like I was out of place. You know, so that is available to us. And, you know, with all of the I guess we could like be realistic, you know, and speak about what's actually happening based on what we could see, touch, hear, you know, smell and taste, and we could, you know, see on TV, or we can talk about, like, because we know that event is happening or that it happened. It's very well happening in what you can't see. And it would pay for us to acknowledge that, for us to get into a place where we're not feeling helpless, you know, where we're not feeling like there's like we're not feeling lost. You know, we have to tune in to spirit. It pays to tune in. It pays to know who you are on a higher level. And you know, I always forget my point, but but it pays. It pays. And I think we really need to, in order for us to get anywhere different, you know, that was my point. We got to do something different. You know, and doing something different is knowing, like, if you know that when you ask a question, you're gonna get the answer, how many questions would you ask? You know, like, you know, when people put you in, they be like, ask me anything. And then you like, dag, anything? And you can't even like get one question because they just open your mind. Like, so you mean anything? Now I gotta search in between all of this because I want to make sure that I ask the right question. With spirit, with the creator, with God, with source, you ask and you get the answer. It's happened for me. I said, why why does this feel like I don't have anything? And everyone that I know doesn't have anything. Why, you know, why are we all broke? Why do I feel the way that I feel about life? And I got the answers. And you know what the answer, right now, that answer is because you've been lied to, you've been lying to yourself, You've been taught to believe opposite of who you really are. That's why you feel like that, because it's not true. Because you've been living a lie. What you believe about yourself being low and being you know, and not having and lacking and being poor and whatever it is, that's not the truth. You are love. You are abundant. That was the truth. And that now I know what I was searching for, that was my answer. So I got my answer. And asking that one question that one day, which that was a real question that I asked, it showed me so many things. It showed me so much about life. Just from asking a question. So we have to, asking a question was something that I had never done. I never asked that question. I didn't say, why am I broke? You know, at 30, what age was I? That was about 5 years ago now. Maybe 2014, 6 years ago. When I was little, I asked why I feel like I don't belong here, you know? But when I got older, it was kind of the same, like, what is going on with this? What is this pattern that I'm seeing in my life? Why? And why am I seeing it in my family and my friends? Everybody is like this. What is this? You know, and I got the answer, and that was what I did different. I looked for an answer, and I had never done that before. So we just need to do something different. In order to change your patterns, in order to change your life, you got to reprogram yourself. You got to ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, that you know, that definitely connects into, you know, I had wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to make sure we talked about. And, you know, we talked about 2020 and how hard it has been. And, you know, we're getting ready to move into a new year, you know. So how do we move? We move into 2021, you know, being more purposeful, you know, and intentional as individuals, you know, not leaving your life out there to be taken advantage of, you know, by other groups and other, you know, people's agendas. And, you know, but knowing that no matter what is going on outside of you, you have a large, you know, you have a large say-so over how your life is to be lived, you know, to be moved from suffering, you know, anxiety and fear, to be focused more on, you know, the joy of knowing that there are infinite amounts of possibilities and potentialities, you know, that are accessible to the individual who looks for the brighter side of things, you know, instead of, you know, the one who just lives within the shadow, the storm cloud of doom and gloom. You know, you can purposefully look for information, look for relationships, you know, even just look for synergy, you know, things that previously you may have said, oh, that's crazy, man. That's, yo, how did that happen? You know, but what if you knew, like sis, what if you knew that you can begin to move in what you used to take as coincidence? You know, you thinking about something, a book that you need, or you need to know something. You know, there's a business that you want to start and you don't know where to start, and you start like, wow, I need some more information on this. And out of nowhere, man, you know, a video pops up, you know, on YouTube, on Facebook, you know, that leads you to where you need to be. Or you know, you run into somebody, you meet someone at the coffee shop or what have you, and that person may be an expert in that, you know, in that subject that you want to know more about, or they may, you know, have been looking for a partner as well, you know. What if you knew that you can begin to you know, enhance that ability to where this is the way you roll now. You don't roll for and being stuck in fear and trying to board yourself up in your house and put like a fifth lock on your door, you know, because you're afraid to move. But now, what if you knew that you can like walk in a whole bubble of peace and serenity and opportunity? Because this is how you live now. This is how you think. This is how you feel. You
it's
know,
how
and
you
because
see.
Go ahead, say that again, sis.
I said it's how you see.
It's how you see. You know, so you don't. You've moved on. You don't live that way anymore. You know, and this is a practice. When we talk about inner work, you know, when you hear me and Sister Ella's talking about inner work, this is what we're talking about. You know, this is what saved me a few years ago when that doom and gloom and that anxiety like tried to assert itself in my life. You know, what ultimately saved me is at that point, I had been someone who has been intentionally seeking and learning and studying and practicing, you know, for like 25 years at that point. You know? So all I needed to do is to be reminded of who I have previously been, and that I was disconnected from that person at that point. I had kind of like wandered off the path, or I had become, I had slowed down to the point where the doom and gloom that I was outpacing, by being intentional and purposeful, it caught up with me because I had slowed down, enough for it to catch up with me. And now all I had to do was to get back on my pace, get back on, intentionally, purposefully living and seeking, again, so, and that's not to say that, like I said, that's not going to say that every day is rosy and sunny and, and all of that. But once you know that you have the power, to decide how you're going to look at things and how you're going to process things and how you're going to respond to things, now, you have the power,
Absolutely.
and you have the control to regulate it, to turn it up, or not do anything with it at all. That's your choice too. But why would you?
Yeah.
Once you know that you have the power to make your life better and more, authentic, why would you, not use that power?
Yeah. I was getting chills because that's like what you were talking about, like synchronicity, noticing like paying attention to the signs and knowing that your attention to it and your appreciation of, certain things happening, being in alignment and just seeing it, acknowledging it, and knowing that when you do that, you're opening a world of that. Like, it's gonna be more, and like you said, you're, that's like you can create that, and I got chills because it's my favorite thing to see things happen, like to have those synchronistic moments where we're talking about something, and before I got on the phone with you, I opened the book up to a page that said exactly something that you just said, or I could be talking to you or we could be somewhere and, you'll see, like you said, you'll see signs, you'll see somebody will come up to you and pass you a flyer or whatever it is, and it connects to something that you thought about earlier in the day. Or one day I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna see a butterfly today, and I was tuning into this young lady who does reading sometimes on Instagram, and she's sitting there doing a Leo reading, which I'm a Leo, and she's reading and she's saying Leo, this and that, Leo. And the whole time I'm watching her and she's on point with her reading, I'm like, yes, she's hitting right now. She had on big butterfly wings. And I was like, this is the butterfly. She's the butterfly, so, and it's just like it's not random, it's a message, so when you pay attention to that, you get it. you receive it, and it helps you along on your path, on your journey. Ask and it's given. You know, I want to.
I was thinking of that earlier.
Yeah, that's what it is. You don't want to know. You know, if we think that we want to know everything that's gonna happen, right? Like if I could just see how this is gonna play out, or what I should exactly do so it could happen exactly the way I want to, life would be boring. Because we don't know, like the way that Source has a way of making things happen, the element of surprise that it puts out there for us. I want that. I can't surprise myself. You know, I want to be surprised. I want to be shocked, you know, and I love that. I love just having those little moments of, yo, I was just thinking about that, you know, and that happens, and it's not a coincidence. It's a message. It's a sign. It's a symbol of the power that we have and the power that we're connected to, and how we are connected. Like, we're connected. If we can have a synchronistic moment, we are connected. We're connected. You're being used to carry out this experience and this moment for me, as well as I'm being used to carry out this moment and this experience for you. We are connected. So when we see that, I mean, you could see things fall into place like a domino effect, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So to acknowledge it, hey, first thing, a thing we could do is stop calling things coincidences. Like you said, like, let's stop calling things coincidences. Look at it as a sign. Look at it as a message. Acknowledge it as a beautiful a happening, something that's letting you know that it's an orchestration that's bigger than anything you can ever make happen. You know? So I just like, I get chills from talk like that, because I just love, like, that's like, you know, I said we don't have the ability to make it happen, but we invite it to happen for us. But if you could give me that in a box, that is my favorite thing. Like how Oprah has her, you know, her favorite things. If you could give me synchronicity wrapped in a box with a bow on top of it, that's my favorite thing.
There's a few things, and I was thinking about it earlier when you was talking, you know, about maybe 20 minutes ago or so, and then you kind of like touched on it briefly. Like, I was thinking, you know, the laws, you know, ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find.
Yes.
You know, knock on the door will be open. It's challenging you to be intentional. It's challenging you to be purposeful.
Yes.
You know, it's challenging you to decide and figure out, what do you really want? You know, because you know and then to take advantage of it, because it's gonna come your way. The opportunity is gonna come.
Yes.
You know, you say, I want this thing or I want that thing, and I feel like this thing will be good for me and it'll be good for my family and good for, you know, anybody else. I guarantee you, in one form or another, that opportunity is going to be granted. You know, you know, are you going to seize that opportunity? Is the thing. You know,
that's right. Hold on, Brother Mike. See if you could do something with your volume or something. It kind of sounds like you're in a can. I can still hear you clearly, but it sounds okay.
Is it still having it? Is it still having it now?
It's a little bit higher.
There's nothing really I can do. I was looking at one of our former episodes this morning, and I saw a couple of times it went from, you know, being like a robust sound to like speaking, like you said, it sounded like speaking in a can.
In a can. Did you get a call while we were on or anything? Oh, okay.
Earlier I did.
I can hear you clearly, but that's just how you sound. And sometimes, you know what, and like you said, it happens, and I don't notice it because I'm so like listening to what you're saying. But I can hear you clearly. So.
Yeah. So it happened, and then it, you know, switched back. I don't know. know, I think that this technology that we're using is dope. But it also has its bugs. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So we should take advantage of it. But, you know, by the same token,
you better now.
Yeah.
You're back.
Okay.
But I'm sorry but that's what was happening. So
yeah. So, you know, and the best thing you can do, you know, and this is something that we had to realize. This is definitely something that I had to realize. Like, you know, you're free to live your life the way you decide to live it. You know, don't ever get caught up in this thing of sacrifice. You know, I got to sacrifice for my children. I got to sacrifice for this. I got to sacrifice for my people. I got to sacrifice. Like, nah, man. You know, this is a law of, I mean, this is a world, a universe of abundance, you know, and you come from abundance. It's like, you know, some years ago, I think this was around the time when the secret phenomenon was, you know, so heavy, you know, the secret, talking about the law of attraction and, you know, talking about, you know, how we're connected to infinite intelligence, or we're connected to God, or we're connected to, you know, the universe, you know, and we are small particles of the magnificent all of the universe. And I was reading this book, and it was talking about, you know, like human beings are like droplets, you know, of the ocean. You know, like the ocean, if the ocean represents God, you know, you are like a, you know, that droplet, or that of water from, you know, the ocean. You know, you're made up of the same, you're made up of the same qualities and the same, you know, atoms and neutrons, or whatever. You know, it's the same, you know. So you have a lot, we are more powerful than we know we are, you know, and we've been tricked into living down, you know, for the purpose of other people taking advantage of us. I can't say it any way, you know, more than that. A lot of times the one who in school who shows the best capabilities and the highest intelligence, he's made to feel like something's wrong with him. You know, he's called a nerd, or he's called a sucker, or, you know, a teacher's pet, or whatever. And instead of him feeling great about the fact that he's expressing himself or herself naturally and showing so much promise, you know, that person is harassed into giving up on standing out, you know, in their personal, you know, expression of greatness, so that they can fit in with mediocrity. You know what I mean?
With others who aren't acknowledging their own intelligence and capabilities. Yeah.
And that's what's wrong with this world. This world, you know, I work with kids. I've been working with kids for almost 30 years in different capacities, from community centers to group homes to non-secure detention to secure detention to foster care, and of course in the child welfare organizations and the child welfare system. A lot of these kids are in these group homes or these foster care because, you know, they've gotten into some degree of trouble. You know, people look down sometimes on these kids and call them delinquents and what have you. But what I found a lot of times is that the majority of these kids have a level of greatness and skills and talents in one way or another, you know, who are orators, you know, who could be possible, you know, leaders, you know, because they have such a powerful way of expressing themselves, graphic artists, you know, singers, dance, you know, to just have levels of greatness but they don't value those levels of greatness, or they don't look, they've been tricked into hiding, you know, how great they are, you know, in the various, you know, capacities in which they have the possibility to show their greatness. They hide it so that they can fit in with, you know, the so-called delinquency of, you know, of their peers, you
Wow.
know. It's because society has tricked them into believing that they're, you know, who am I to be this great artist or this great singer or this, you know, this great orator or this mathematical genius, you know. And this person is in non-secure detention, you know, not really having a belief in themselves or a belief in their gift. And I'm looking at from the outside like, yo, you know, I'm looking at you like in the old cartoons, man, where you would see, you know, you would see somebody change like into a money bag, you know, or a dollar.
Change.
Oh, you great. I'm like, damn, I wish I could take you out of here and be a manager or somebody, or like, yo, you know, I'd help you to realize how dope you are. Like, don't throw your life away. But this is the way the society that we're living in has tricked so many of our people into being disconnected, you know, from how dope they are, you know, and even the little display of oratorical skills or graphic art, or, you know, I've seen some basketball players, man, working with these kids that were like the second coming of LeBron James, man. You know, I'm like, yo, your ticket, yo, you can definitely go to college and beyond. But this kid don't believe, you know, oh, this is just something that I do. You know, something, he ain't even looking at it like that. And he's more, you know, turned to the streets, you know.
And believes in that and can see that more than he could see anything else.
And they get the blame. They get the blame for being delinquent, so to speak. But the society that hasn't found a way to identify and help these kids to cultivate these gifts that they so obviously have, I feel like the blame is on the system. The blame is on, you know, the world system, the governmental system, you know, whatever system that's failing these kids, it's their fault. It's not the kids' fault.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, I think that as adults, it's our responsibility to find our gifts and become more courageous in being who we are, you know, and that would give our kids more permission to follow suit, I think.
Right. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
If we're not showing and proving that we're courageous in expressing our ingenuity and our dopeness and greatness, then how we expect the kids to do something that they haven't seen done?
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the lack of opportunity, or even as a parent, you know, not knowing, you know, having that lack of knowledge, like not knowing where to go or how to nurture, you know, the gift that your child has. Like growing up myself, like I said, I was always a writer. You know, I was writing since I could, like, I remember like the penmanship writing that we learned how to write through the lines with the dashes. I used to write poetry at that age. Like I was writing poems, you know, in kindergarten, first grade. So I had that talent. I had that, you know, I had that gift of knowing how to put words together. And, you know, or I was writing songs at like 7 years old, you know, so that was a gift, you know. My mother bought me tape recorders, you know, little radios and stuff like that, and I used to record, you know, so she did what she could to nurture that, what she knew that I was good at and that I loved, you know. But and that's where it was at home, you know. It wasn't something that I carried out in school. And I always felt like if it was something going on, I didn't know how to be a part of it, you know. So it was no outlet for me to express myself outside of home. But I did what I did in the house, and, you know, my close family who was around, I wasn't shy to show them, you know, what I could do and things like that. And in school I did write, you know, and I always got great responses to my writings and things like that. But, you know, it didn't grow me, you know, into an automatic, you know, author, with published books and things like that, or, a legitimate, performer who has a record deal, or, anything like that. And when I came into a certain time in my life, which was not that long ago, where I started to go to like open mics and things like that, I was like, yo, where was this? Like, where was this at when I was growing up? But it, as according to what I have heard, it was around, like when the neo soul community, they was around. They had little spots, it was gathering together and doing poetry and stuff like that. But I didn't know anything about it because I didn't know people who were connected to that. I didn't know it existed. The only thing I did think about is like when you would go to a bar and they would have like a singer there with a band. I would picture myself being like that singer with a band, but then I didn't have a band. So, I couldn't, I just didn't have an opportunity to carry that out back then when I did do most of my writing, when I did want to do it. Then when it was existing, I didn't know anything of it until I got out and I asked the question, that question, which opened up my whole world to come more in tune with who I truly am. I found the avenues to express myself, which still exists. I went to the studio last month or whatever, and but my passion is different right now, but I know that that's a part of me and that's a gift that I have. So sometimes, like, my point was that, like, my mother, she was around. Like I said, she brought me the radio. She brought me the microphone. I wrote, I did what I did, but she didn't have maybe the connections, or she didn't know herself, like, oh, put her in a talent show, or I'm going to sign you up for this or sign you up for that. So just like how you said, like, society, it's the way that we've been, like things have been set up to where the we don't have the connections and we don't have the opportunities to build on those gifts that our children have outside of them, you nurturing it inside the home, and then, like you said, they have their own beliefs. Like I have children again, and I ask my son, well, what are you interested in? Sometimes they don't know. They don't know. One of my sons, he's very good at basketball, but he always sprains his ankle. And I don't know if it has something to do with him needing to lose weight or something like that, but that kind of prevents him from playing the game as well as he wants to, or as well as he can, because he'll play and then he'll end up hurting himself with that. So, but he knows that he's interested in that. So I don't know what the ankle thing is about. And we've gone to the doctor and all of that, but he just kind of re-injures himself. And it's just like, but to groom and to nurture a children to work with that gift that they have or the interest that they have, sometimes it's like, seems that it's not accessible, easily enough than it may be in other places and other communities, But I also know that I can't say that that's exactly how it is and it's nothing more, because I know right now, like, they're not having basketball games, right? Like, not really. They're not even in school. So it's different now, but I know that there is opportunity. You just have to put yourself in a place and around the people who offer that, so that you can, so that you can nurture, the gifts. You can nurture your children's gifts. And I also think that if you don't have the ability to do it, whether it has something to do with money or, you know, whatever your situation is, that it's important to let your children know to foster who they are. Because sometimes we want to do things, right? Like my son playing basketball. If basketball was everything to him, if basketball was all that he cared about and all that he could see himself doing, but he hurts his ankle when he plays it, then he would feel like he don't have no purpose. So we have to teach our children to look inside for who they are, to connect to the spiritual part of themselves, so that they can know that building themselves in spirit can not only magnify things to them, you know, like attract things to them, but also keep a foundation of I'm great no matter what it is that I can or cannot do. I'm great anyway, because a lot of times people, you know, with this being a motivational era, people kind of talk in a way that if you're not doing this thing, that you're not living out your purpose. And you got to know that it has to be a first of appreciating life first, then living out your purpose. Because if you don't appreciate life and you jump right to purpose, you won't, if there is any falling, there's nothing to fall on. Because once you can't run that race the way you used to, or pick up that pen the way that you used to, people feel worthless when they can't do things. So first you have to be. First you have to feed and you have to nurture that being that you are, so that when you start doing, you can feel great about what you're doing and still feel great about who you are being. I think that's important. So if you don't have the means right now to get your children into programs and you know, feed into that gift that they have or talent, teach them about who they are as a spiritually. You know, let them learn that it's more to life than anything that we think it is. You know, it always goes back to that for me, because I know sometimes people don't have the means right now to do what it is that they want to do, or put their children in a situation that they want them in. Like me, my situation right now, I live in housing. I want a house, but right now I'm not in a house. But I have to appreciate my situation now. Otherwise, I would be walking around miserable, not you know, feeling not feeling happy about where I am. You know, but I have to have an appreciation for life and my present stance and where I am in order for me to get to another place. It has to be that basis first of appreciation and, you know, knowing and being who you are. I don't know how long I was talking.
Yeah, well, that's something, you know, I think, you know, we're going to have to break that, you know, those customs. You know, we're going to have to, you know, create new customs, you know, as adults, you know, new standards that we hold ourselves to, and as individuals. And then, you know, especially like, you know, moving ahead, we talk about moving into 2021 in a more proactive, purposeful, and intentional way, you know, a positive way. You know, we need to not just be focused on doing the inner work that allows us to show up as our best selves, you know, ready to be positive, ready to be supportive, you know. Then, you know, we need to look for opportunities to join on with other adults, you know, who live in our communities, so that we can begin to take advantage of open spaces, you know, and opportunities, you know.
Right, yeah,
I know
community, that's right.
a lot of times when I go through, yeah, there's gentrification going on, you know, there's the takeover of traditional Black neighborhoods going on, and you see buildings being knocked down and buildings being raised up out the ground and what have you. And yeah, we see people making moves like that. But I also see a lot of times that there's a tremendous amount of storefronts and other things with their gates down. You know, I know that there's the last time I checked, like sometimes I go into Harlem and you know, for the New Yorkers in the house, you know, who may be listening to this is something that, you know, you'll be able to see for yourself. On Fifth Avenue in Harlem, like I would say from like 134th Street to like 132nd Street. You know, I've noticed like a whole row, like a whole block of storefronts that have been closed for like a year and a half, you know? And we're living in those neighborhoods, and we haven't seen fit, or we don't believe in ourselves enough that we have it within ourselves to take ownership of those spaces and to create, you know, restaurants, dance studios, you know, cafes where, where you could sell books and you could allow people in to come in and read books and do their college papers and, you know, and drink some tea or get some coffee and what have you. What about Corona? Yeah, I know. I know. But you know what, man? You know, instead of being so focused on that, man, you know, we need to start being focused on being creative, you know? And if you have enough people who live in a neighborhood, you know, who are willing to not ignore one another and not, you know, hate on one another, you know, then you can start rebuilding the village like we used to have back in the days, man. You know, back in the days when I was growing up, you had, yeah, there was problems, and yeah, everything wasn't peachy keen and peaceful and what have you. But what I remember, man, in the 70s, you know, in the early 80s, man, before, you know, crack was introduced into the Black communities across this nation, I remember that parents used to speak to other parents. Parents used to look out for each other's interests, you know, and you can knock on a neighbor's door, you know, and ask them for a stick of butter or, you know, you got a cup of sugar I can have or whatever. Parents used to look out for the interests of other parents when they wasn't around. They would keep an eye out for your kids, you know, and they would check, you know, they would approach, you know, if they saw the kids doing something wrong or doing something dangerous, they would come up and they would check those kids. And it wouldn't be about what it is today, like, yo, you ain't my mother or you ain't my daddy, you know, that type of stuff, you know, or yo, who are you to be talking to my child like that? A lot of that happened, you know, through the crack era and the destruction of the Black village, you know, to where we don't look out for one another and we don't talk to one another like we used to, you know. But we need to get back. We need to get back to that active practice of rebuilding that type of camaraderie and support, you know, as parents and adults. You know, we have more resources than we know of. We're just using it on the wrong things. You know, we're just, you know, oh man, the 350 Yeezy boots came out and, you know, in black and red, you know, let me, you know, get that. And you already have like 10 pairs of Yeezys, or you already have like, you know, 10 pairs of foam posits or whatever, you know. So anyway, you know, we've been talking for a long time, and I definitely appreciate your time, Sister Ella. And I say Happy New Year, you know, to you. I say Happy New Year to the family. I hope that, you know, let us use you know, the fact that we're getting ready to move into 2021.
We can touch on that. You know what
Be
you know
more
what.
positive, you know.
Yeah, we can touch on that part the part that you want us to talk about for
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
Just to let y'all know, y'all listeners and those tuning in, I'm working from home and I'm on a clock right now, and I'm taking this opportunity as the power that I have as a spiritual being to attend this necessary conversation with BruthaMikeX because I can and I want to. So, however, my day is about to come to an end, so I got to get back. In case you know you can't call me looking down on my phone, I am keeping in tune with my emails. But I wanted to be here and I wanted to do this, and this was it became the perfect time. And you know we're getting it done anyway, so I'm glad. I just wanted to let y'all know, you know what's going on. But let's go over you know what we wanted to talk about as far as you know the upcoming year, and then we'll sign off.
Okay. Well, we're already like you know I say waist deep in that, you know, and you know what I'm talking about is a big part of that, you know. I think that social media has given us an opportunity to connect with people all across this, you know, all across this nation. You know, I've been involved on social media through Facebook and through Blog Talk Radio and through my YouTube channel and Instagram. I've met people in different states, you know, that I've formed, you know, very powerful relationships with. Where we've spent hours, you know, talking on Blog Talk Radio programs, or, you know, now through the Zoom, or, you know, different things that I've never met, you know, and, you know, you know, we've exchanged phone numbers, and some of us have, you know, developed some deep, strong, positive conversations. But it has to be understood that all change is local. You know, if you really want to have impact, you know, you want to do it on your block, in your neighborhood, you know, in your city. You know, this is how change occurs. Change occurs by forming relationships, strong, positive relationships of support and respect and appreciation with your neighbors. You know, because y'all have the greatest opportunity to connect with one another. You know, I can have a conversation, you know, with my good friend who lives in Chicago, and we can share ideas, but the only way that we're really going to be able to take those ideas and implement them, you know, together is if I you know, move from New York to Chicago, or if they move from Chicago to New York. And this is just dealing with logistics. This is just dealing with practicality. It feels good to dream. It feels good to talk about ideas, you know, but if you really want to take those ideas and really begin to, you know, move on those ideas, you need to do that with the people who live in your neighborhood, you know. And I'll tell you, some people talk more with people who don't live in their neighborhood about, you know, we need to come together and we need to support one another. They talk with people who don't live in their neighborhood sometimes. They talk with the people who actually live in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? And if we really want to begin to fight to bring opportunities to ourselves as adults and to our children, to the elders, you know, we need to start building relationships of trust, of respect, of appreciation, you know, and that's hard for us because we've been through so much that a lot of times we don't like ourselves, and we don't like ourselves as individuals, and we don't like other people who are in the same boat that we're in, you know. So chalk it up to the Willie Lynch syndrome, you know, where we've been divided, you know, through our differences. You know, a lot of times we don't want to support one another. I try to make it to the best of my ability. You know, if I see someone who's trying to do good work, I look at it as my personal responsibility to try to support them and try to connect with them. You know, now if I find that, you know, it's not reciprocal, I'm not going to lie. I'm not, you know, if it's not reciprocal, then I'm going to stay in my lane, you know, a lot of times. I'm telling you the truth. But I feel like moving into 2021, you know, men need to be about the business of striving to connect with and build with men in a positive, mature way, the way we used to. You know, we need to reassert our presence in our neighborhoods. We need to reassert our positive presence in the lives of our children. You know, we need to begin to stand up in a positive way, supportive of our women. You know, the women in our communities, we need to stand with them, and we need to rebuild relationships and things of that nature. And I feel sisters need to be endeavoring to do the same thing. You know, let's stop, you know, hating on one another. You know, let's stop, you know, purposefully ignoring the good efforts and the good work of each other. And I really feel like this is a call for action that we can go into on the next necessary
conversation. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I just wanted to end it off on that note from a positive spectrum. There's a lot of work for us to do, and I know that we can begin to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a lot, you know, it's a lot. And I think that, you know, that we're already being pushed into, you know, doing something different. Like it's like, okay, you're not gonna move, so I'm gonna move you. I think we talked about that a few times, Brother Mike. You call that get kicked in the butt or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, so I mean, I think that we all got our share of kicks in the butt, you know, in 2020, and we're saying these as you know, the years known as, you know, so the year, you know, upcoming year, known as was going to be 2021, is, you know, for those who either, you know, intentionally moved forward or got kicked forward. You know, it's a time for us to find some type of ground, you know, to get grounded. And, you know, over time, because I think now we're, you know, it's not saying that we don't know what's, you know, what's coming. You know, we don't know, you know, when I sent the email to my coworkers, I was like, 2021 is tonight, you know. So, and I said, but beautiful things happen overnight, you know. And, you know, I've heard when people say 2020 is a horrible year, you know, I don't necessarily, I don't agree with using that word horrible. I just think it's a year, a transformative year. You know, it's a year where, just like, you know, things come to an end and things move into a new beginning. Some things we have to, you know, be finished with in order to, you know, start anew. So I just think that that's what this is, amongst so many things that have been unveiled this year, so many truths that have been unveiled, so much, so many things that we're able to see that we weren't able to see before, that was hidden before. And now, you know, and not saying that it's only been in 2020, but it's so many more eyes that, you know, have been able to see the truth. And now it's only a matter of you accepting that and using it as what's the word I'm looking for? An opportunity to do something different, to be new, to recreate yourself, to reprogram yourself, and to see that have an effect on those around you. You know, the message is out there, the information is out there, and if you want it, then you'll receive it. So it's just a continuance of transformations, moving into 2021. And self-awareness, you know, like you talked about earlier with the food, realizing how the food, you know, what it does to you when you eat this food and that food. Just being in tune with yourself, with your feelings, with your body, with your actions, you know, with, like you said, with your conversations, you know, being in tune with what you're bringing into you and what you're feeling and what you're putting out. And I think that it's just a beautiful thing when you start to look at you, and you recreate, like, you know, like, it's when you get dressed up, you know, whatever dressed up is to you, it does something to you, you know, especially when you pick it out for yourself. Because, you know, when we were children and our parents picked out our clothes, we didn't really, you know, sometimes we didn't really like what they picked out for us. But when you get to pick out your own outfit and you get dressed up, that feeling that you get when you stand up straight and you like, I'm doing this tonight, you know, and however a man would say that for himself. But that's what you do when you recreate yourself. And
I mean, just briefly, sis, I mean, I think that, you know, and I'm not body shaming, you know, I need to lose some weight. I've lost a lot of weight, you know. I had allowed myself to get up to almost 280 pounds, you know. And now I'm like 230, you know, something. And I really want to get down. I really want to get down to like 205, like a solid 205, I think would be a nice weight for me. I know that they say I'm supposed to be like 170 for my height and my body. And I'm like, I would look like a crackhead.
You'll be mad slim. Like don't say crackhead, because remember, I was like 130 pounds. I was so slim.
Yeah.
My father said, I like you how you is now. Don't do that again.
But honestly, and I'm challenging everyone, you know, because heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, you know, kidney disease, all of these things have found a home in Black America because we're not eating right. You know, we're not exercising. We're not paying attention to using these bodies for the special vehicles that they are. Yeah, the real you, your soul and your spirit inhabits the body, but your body is pretty dope. If you respect your body will respect you.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. And I agree with Sister Ella, you know, I like dressing up sometimes, but you know what? When you are doing what you need to do, when you're treating your body right, the body is a beautiful, you know, implement. You know what I mean? When you're healthy, when you're healthy and you got a nice weight and a nice muscle tone, it doesn't even, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter even what you're wearing as much what you're wearing when you're in shape and you're doing your thing. And I think that we need to take the opportunity to push each other and challenge each other to get healthy, you know?
Yes,
instead
definitely.
of challenging each other to practice some of these, you know,
dances.
Let's challenge each other to eat right. Let's challenge each other to exercise.
That's right. Recreate. That's recreating yourself. You know, that dressing up. That was a you know, that just was to give you a understanding of the feeling of recreating yourself. You know, so definitely getting your body. You know, getting the information. And then working on the body, because some, you know, it's so many ways out here to, you know, you want to take this kind of diet and that kind of diet and, you know, starve yourself and only eat at this time and this, you know, all of that. Like, get the real information and educate yourself on what on the real about this food, and do what you can and what you feel comfortable with to transform your body. Because not everything that everybody does works for everybody else. So you gotta do what you gotta get that information that's gonna work for you, that's gonna work on you, and you know that and recreate yourself. You know, so we're doing everything on every level, spiritually and physically. It's all connected, like you said about the body. You know, where this body is a vessel, you know, but it is a part of us. And we must see, and it is a beautiful tool, and we can make it do what we want it to do. Like when I look at my son, the one who, like, he kind of injures himself a lot. He's a rough young man. And I said, but look at you. Look at how you heal. Like, look at your, like, he smashed his finger in a car door. And he was showing me his finger the other day, like, and I was like, I said, that's like magic. Look at how you're healing. Like, you just always heal. You know, I don't want you to mess yourself up, but the healing is an amazing thing. Our bodies they do what they do on their own, but if you could get to connect with it, reconnect with it, or if you've never been connected with it, connect to it and see what it does for you. And see what you can make it do for you, and it will listen to you. You know, you create a pattern for it, and it will follow it for you. You know, I wanted to put on some more weight. You know, I felt comfortable about who I am and my spirit and my being at peace with myself and who I am. But I have the information. I have the information on how to eat the way that, you know, that I need to eat for my health. And even that, having that information, you know, implanted in me for something that I never knew before, it now works within me, even when I'm not doing it all the time. You know, I believe in having that information, and it's key to write new chapters. You know, like my chapter when I was doing the vegan thing, that's a chapter in my book. It's not my whole life, you know, so it's a part of me that is a part of my story. And, you know, so take the pressure off of yourself if you're trying to make one chapter your whole book. You know, you can learn how to do things in a way that's beneficial for you and create your own thing that, you know, that it might not work for everybody, but it works for you. And that's how you recreate yourself. You make something your own for you. That's recreating. So recreate for 2021. That's my message.
All right. Definitely appreciate you. A great deal.
I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, I want to get back to our flow and having our normal connections, necessary conversations. Yo, for anybody watching this, I mean, you know how they have like the blooper reel or the cut that didn't make the movie. Yo, me and Sister Ella, man. Yo, anytime we get on the phone, man, we're like we had a whole hour and a half before we came on.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, that's just how we rock. And it's so dope when you have, you know, individuals who are striving to be responsible in their own lives that are filling up with so much love and positivity that they can overflow and, you know, into the lives of others and share that type of, you know, synergy between one another.
Yes.
We're hoping that more people will, you know, begin to add on to that. You know, this world could be a great and positive haven or heaven, you know, if we choose to regard it as such and build it up into, you know, that, you know, and I believe we have that ability. So I refuse to give way to the fear and the chaos. So, you know, thank you again, sis.
Thank you, BruthaMikeX. I love you, and I'm so glad that we got to get together. You know, 3 is a magic number, so it's a great number. So 3rd time's a charm, and you know, we didn't talk about what we was doing, if anything, tonight, but just enjoy the rest of this, what feels like such a beautiful day. I'm glad that I was in the energy and the vibe to join here with you. You always reach out, you know, and our friendship has, you know, grown, and I like you're one of my very most favorite people, and I love you, and I'm glad that we're here together. All right, so enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll hit you up like Happy New Year tonight.
Okay. All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.